Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. Space travel is usually depicted as graceful. Engines hum softly, blue lights glow, and ships glide through the void like fish in water. But there is another way to travel. A way that is loud, dirty, and incredibly violent. Back in the 1960s, human scientists dreamed up a propulsion system called Project Orion. The concept was simple: throw a nuclear bomb out the back door, detonate it, and ride the shockwave. It was deemed too crazy for Earth. But out in the deep void, when you are surrounded by enemies and out of options, crazy becomes a survival strategy. Today's story is about the UNS Thunderchild, a ship that doesn't have an engine in the traditional sense. It has a magazine full of nukes and a very thick steel plate. The alien fleet thought they had trapped a helpless freighter. They were about to learn that standing behind a human ship is the most dangerous place in the universe. If you believe that there is no such thing as overkill, smash that like button. And if you want to see what happens when you use a weapon of mass destruction as a gas pedal, subscribe and ring the bell. Radiation warning active. Ignition in 3, 2, 1. High Pursuit leader Caliph of the Sylvanni Dominion watched the holographic display with a sneer of satisfaction. His squadron of interceptors, sleek silver needles powered by gravity drives, had successfully cornered the prey. Target is drifting, Caliph noted. It is ugly. Is that a ship or a piece of construction debris? The human vessel, the UNS Thunderchild, was indeed ugly. It was a cylinder of scarred gray metal shaped like a bullet. It had no wings. It had no glowing ion thrusters. It had no visible cockpit windows. The only distinguishing feature was the rear of the ship. It didn't have engine nozzles. Instead, the entire back end was capped by a massive, flat, circular plate made of dull steel. It looked like a giant shield blackened by soot. Scan the vessel, Caliph ordered. Find their propulsion system. I want to disable it and board them. Science Officer Orion manipulated the sensors. Leader, I am confused. I detect no fusion drive. No antimatter core. No gravity displacement coils. The ship appears to have no means of propulsion. Drifting junk? Caliph scoffed. Perhaps it is a barge. Scan for cargo. Scanning. Orion paused. His gills fluttered in agitation. Sir, the internal magazine is full. It is carrying warheads. Missiles. No. Fission devices. Crude atomic bombs. Thousands of them. But they possess no guidance systems. They are not missiles. They are just canisters of enriched plutonium. Caliph laughed. A suicide ship? They intend to detonate themselves when we board? How primitive. Keep your distance. Encircle them at 500 kilometers. If they try to launch a weapon, vaporize them. The Sylvanni fleet formed a perfect sphere around the Thunderchild. They were the masters of the void. Their ships could accelerate to 0.5 light speed in seconds using silent, elegant gravity ripples. They watched the ugly metal cylinder. It sat there, motionless, rotating slowly in the dark. Inside the Thunderchild, the atmosphere was very different. Captain Boomer Vance sat in a crash couch that looked more like a roller coaster seat. It was lined with 6 inches of shock-absorbing gel. Every crew member on the bridge was strapped in. The air was thick with the smell of hydraulic fluid and nervous sweat. They're surrounding us, Cap, the XO said, checking the passive radar. 12 contacts. Fast movers. They think we're dead in the water. Vance grinned. He lit a cigar, strictly against regulations, but on this ship, safety regulations were more like suggestions. They're looking for engines, Vance said. They're looking for exhaust ports. They don't know what the pusher plate is. He patted the armrest of his chair. Status on the pulse units? Magazine is green, the weapons officer reported. Feeder mechanism is unjammed. We have 500 low-yield directional charges ready to drop. Shock absorbers? Pistons are primed. The plate is cold. Ready to take a hit. All right, Vance said, checking his harness. Let's show these elves how humanity gets from point A to point B. Plot a vector straight through their flagship. And tell the crew to clench their teeth. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. On the Sylvanni bridge, Orion noticed a movement. Leader. A hatch is opening on the rear of the human ship. Caliph zoomed in. A small, circular hatch opened in the center of the massive steel plate at the back of the Thunderchild. They are venting waste? Caliph asked. No, an object is emerging. A small canister no larger than a barrel dropped out of the hatch. It drifted silently into the void behind the ship. It floated about 50 meters away from the plate. Is that a mine? Caliph asked. It is stationary. Ignore it. Prepare to. Flash. The universe turned white. The canister detonated. It was a shaped nuclear charge. A directed blast of plasma and radiation. But unlike a normal bomb that explodes in all directions, this one was engineered to focus its energy forward. A wave of superheated plasma slammed into the massive steel pusher plate on the back of the Thunderchild. To the Sylvanni, it looked like the humans had just nuked their own ship. They destroyed themselves? Calith shouted. But as the blindness faded, the sensors screamed. The Thunderchild wasn't destroyed. The pusher plate, coated in a layer of graphite and oil, had absorbed the blast. The massive hydraulic pistons connecting the plate to the ship compressed, absorbing the G-force. And then the ship moved. It didn't glide. It lurched. It was kicked forward by the force of an atomic bomb. From 0 to 10,000 meters per second in a heartbeat. Movement detected. Orion shrieked. Velocity spiking. They are accelerating. Before Calith could process this, another canister dropped. Flash. Another nuke. Another shockwave. The Thunderchild jerked forward again, doubling its speed. Flash. 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 It was a staccato rhythm of violence. Boom lurch. Boom lurch. Boom lurch. The human ship was riding a column of nuclear fire. It was surfing on explosions. They are using warheads as fuel. Orion realized, his voice trembling with horror. They are detonating fission devices directly against their own hull to generate thrust. It is madness. The radiation alone should kill them. Intercept. Calith roared. Shoot it down. The Sylvanni interceptors dove in. But they had a problem. The wake of the Thunderchild was not a gentle stream of ions. It was a trailing cloud of radioactive plasma, EMP static, and blinding light. Any ship that tried to get behind the Thunderchild to shoot its engines was instantly blinded by the next nuke dropping out of the chute. The EMP blasts fried the delicate sensors of the alien ships. The radiation cooked their shields. "We cannot lock on," the tactical officer screamed. "The interference is off the charts. It is like trying to target a lightning bolt." The Thunderchild was now moving at incredible speeds. The G-forces inside must have been crushing, but the ship held together. It wasn't running away. It was turning. "Leader," Orion whispered. "They are adjusting their vector. They are heading for the blockade line." Blockade. Calith looked at the map. "My command carrier is there." On the bridge of the Thunderchild, Captain Vance watched the G-meter redline. "Pulse rate to maximum," he ordered. "Double time. Drop M as fast as the feeder can cycle." Thud 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 thud. The ship vibrated like a jackhammer. The nukes were detonating twice a second now. The pusher plate was glowing cherry red. "Target ahead," the pilot yelled. "Alien carrier. Don't stop." Vance laughed, his teeth rattling. "We are the bullet." The Sylvanni carrier, a majestic vessel of glass and light, saw the Thunderchild coming. It saw a streak of fire. A comet made of steel and atomic fury. The carrier tried to raise its shields. But shields are designed to stop lasers. They are designed to stop missiles. They are not designed to stop a million-ton rod of tungsten being pushed by a continuous nuclear explosion. The Thunderchild didn't even fire its guns. It smashed through the carrier's shields by sheer momentum. The shockwave of the ship's passage, the bow shock created by the nuclear pulses, hit the carrier first. The radiation stripped the alien hull. Then the Thunderchild clipped the carrier's wing. At that speed, the impact was catastrophic. The carrier spun, shattered, and disintegrated. The Thunderchild roared past, surrounded by a halo of blue fire, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. "Engine cut off," Vance ordered. The nukes stopped dropping. The shaking ceased. The ship drifted, cooling in the void. Vance checked the rear camera. The pusher plate was scorched, pitted, and glowing but intact. Behind them, the alien fleet was in disarray. Blinded by the flash, crippled by the EMP, and terrified by the display of brute force. A hail came through from the surviving Sylvanni ships. It was audio only. "Human vessel," the voice was weak, filled with static. You are monsters. You pollute the void. You use the fire of death to walk. What kind of species does this?" Vance picked up the mic. He blew a smoke ring. "The kind that wants to get home for dinner," Vance replied. "Now clear the lane. Unless you want a tan." The Sylvanni retreated. They told stories of the demon ship. The ship that farted nukes. The ship that turned the vacuum of space into a radioactive wasteland just to move forward. They realized that humans were not just primitive. We were recklessly inventive. We didn't care about elegance. We didn't care about clean energy. If we had to burn the sky to win, we would strike the match ourselves. Project Orion proved one thing. There is no problem in physics that cannot be solved by applying enough high explosives. The UNS Thunderchild was eventually retired to a museum. It sits there today, its massive pusher plate scarred by 1,000 atomic blast. A plaque sits beneath it. It reads, "Ad astra per aspera, to the stars through difficulty." And underneath, someone scrawled in marker, "And through high-yield explosives." This has been Apex Sci-Fi. We are told to leave no trace. But sometimes, leaving a trail of nuclear fire is the only way to survive. If you think nuclear propulsion is the coolest way to travel, smash that like button. Comment below, would you ride a ship powered by bombs? Subscribe. And wear your lead vest. Pulse drive offline.